anyone that knows anything about domestic violence, and if you don't, this is something that is good to know. Leaving is the most dangerous time. It's the most dangerous thing you can do. So the fact that I got out of there, I realized I knew that I needed to make a change. And I was at such a rock bottom that I was willing to do whatever it took. And that sent me on this journey of self-growth and transformation myself. So it included therapy, it included coaching. And through that, I found my worth. When I found my worth, I realized, oh, I don't need to look for this outside anymore. What I was seeking in relationships was I had the ability to give this to myself the entire time. And so I realized there's a certain place that everyone can start, because what I view as complete confidence and complete self-worth isn't looking at yourself in the mirror every day and thinking you're a goddess. But what it is unconditional acceptance of yourself so that you can be in full alignment.
I am Sara Khliss. Welcome to 60 Minutes with a Woman. In this podcast, we share inspiring stories and real conversations with women who are making an impact. Here, you get to tune in with these incredible women and speak about resilience, growth, and meaningful change. If this episode inspires you, make sure to follow, like, and share, because it's thanks to you that this show continues. Don't forget also to let me know in the comments what you want to see next. And wherever you're listening from, enjoy the podcast. Welcome, Navi Bliss. It is a pleasure having you here with us today on 60 Minutes with a Woman.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, really. I'm excited. And by the way, your last name sounds a little like mine, Sara Khliss, Navi Bliss. I feel that there is something happening here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to give more of your background to the listeners. Navi, you are a certified love and relationship coach, an inspirational speaker, and a podcast host and an author. You've been featured on Global News, CTV, Breakfast Television, A+ Media, and even Chicken Soup for the Soul. You also wrote 2 books, Our Yellow Brick Road and Healing and Growth. You use your own stories to overcoming childhood abuse and neglect to inspire others. And your mission as a coach is to help people fall head over heels in love with themselves. It's a pleasure sitting with you today, and I'm looking forward to dig a little deeper into what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
Navi, let's start by take us back to your story, how you got started, what were you doing before, and what motivated you to become a coach?
Yeah, so my story started with my own struggle, right? So
Yeah.
I grew up in a home with a mom who was physically and emotionally abusive towards me. So I grew up not having any self-worth or any self-esteem. And sometimes people, they remember, okay, there was this age, like I was so confident until this age, and then I lost it. I never had that because of the way that I grew up. And as a result, that sent me looking for love and validation in all the wrong places, because I just wanted someone to love me so that I could prove my mother to be wrong. And that led me down a path where I got married, where I was really young. And when I got married, I was like, okay, someone chose me. This means I'm lovable. I'm proving my mother to be wrong. And then what happened is my ex-husband cheated on me and had a child with somebody else while we were married.
It's
And
horrible.
that marriage fell apart. And when it fell apart, it, instead of proving my mother to be wrong, it proved her to be right. So whatever my self-esteem was before, let's say it was negative 100, it's now negative 200. It's because everything that is wrong with me has been proven to be wrong with me, and I double down on that idea, right? And that's the problem. That's what happens when you outsource your worth to somebody else. It's dependent on their actions and how they're showing up, right? And that led me into a path of even more toxic relationships. And then I ended up in 2 abusive relationships back to back. And I managed to get out of both of them. And when I got out of the second one, I realized that was a lot of grace from the universe, that I was able to get away from that, because anyone that knows anything about domestic violence, and if you don't, this is something that is good to know. Leaving is the most dangerous time. It's the most dangerous thing you can do. So the fact that I got out of there, I realized, okay, if I end up in this situation again, I'm probably not going to get out of it. So
Mm.
I knew that I needed to make a change, and I was at such a rock bottom that I was willing to do whatever it took to create that change in my life. So even if that meant never being with anyone, even if it meant being alone, I needed to get to the root cause of what was causing this. And I knew that the stuff that had happened to me in my past, it wasn't my fault, but at that point I was an adult and I was also responsible for what I was allowing into my life, and I needed to choose something different. And that sent me on this journey of self growth and transformation myself. So, included therapy and included coaching. And through that, I found my worth, but I also found my purpose. Because when I found my worth, I realized, oh, I don't need to look for this outside anymore. What I was seeking in relationships was I had the ability to give this to myself the entire time. And in doing that, I also realized, oh, now I'm starting to attract everything that I want
Oh, wow.
effortlessly. It's just coming to me now because
Yeah.
I'm just radiating magnetism and confidence as opposed to neediness and being a black hole. And there's nothing wrong with having needs, but there's a difference between even if you're the best person in the world and you show up as a void, as a black hole, that's going to be overwhelming to anybody, and it's going to be really hard to love you in that way. So you end up repelling all kinds of people and opportunities and things from you. So through that, I realized, okay, wow. And then I had done individual coaching, and then I did group coaching. And when I was in a group coaching program, that was the thing that also helped me find my purpose, because what I realized is the people in that program, they wanted to hear what I had to say. And I
Yeah.
realized this is what I'm passionate about, because I needed someone like me, right? It took me even a long time to allow myself to get coaching or to get that support, because and this is where representation is also really important, because when I looked around, I didn't see anyone that looked like me. And then when you're in this spiral, when you're in this shame spiral, it's easy to make up a story of, oh, well, this person is so amazing. They're so beautiful. They look like this. Like, I don't look like that. And
Oh.
even whatever they're doing worked for them, but it won't work for me. Right. And so I realized, okay, the old version of me needed someone like me. And it inspired me to go get certified and start on my coaching journey, and to help other people do the same, to help other people connect with themselves, to fall in love with themselves, so that they can start to effortlessly attract and magnetize all of the things that they want in their life.
Oh, that's a beautiful story, and it's a wonderful thing that you were able once again to convert, your trauma into. First of all, I was one of my question was supposed to be, when did you start valuing self worth, and then digging deeper into how to obtain this empowered feeling of self worth and self love and self confidence. But you just answered. You said you were in an abusive relationship and you didn't want to fall in that trap again because you were able to safely get out of it, and you didn't know if this was going to be again the case if now you fell in the same trap in the future. So that answer is very deeply the urge of whoever is stuck in a relationship that's abusive, of getting out of there and then getting help. So this is already a powerful message. There is the second powerful message. All of it is powerful, but there is the second thing that I also caught my attention, is the fact that you said that you didn't feel represented in the room. And I wanted to ask you, what is your background?
I'm South Asian, East Indian.
Do you think South Asian women are more reluctant to just share their struggle and then find help?
I think so, because within the culture, there's so much shame and blame that goes on uh, in the culture. I know that I've faced that in the community even before I got divorced, because my parents were divorced. There was this stigma that was placed on me, that was attached to me, that had nothing to do with me, that wasn't my fault, but it didn't matter. And so I think that there's this reluctance, and I mean, it stems from the same place. It stems from seeking validation outside of yourself, right? And when you need validation from everyone else because you're in a place that's so low, you're afraid of being judged for sharing your story.
So that's amazing that you decided to step into your power and represent, I'm going to say the brown girl community. I love it. Honestly, I even in my surrounding have friend who struggled with a lot of family issue, including marriage, and I don't think that they were able to seek coaching or even help. It's more of a it's the way it is, and that's just how it's going to be. Which now I really am super glad you're here with us today to share that message for every woman, but also women that you represent. I wanted to ask you also, when did you decide that you were going to step forward into your coaching journey and help women? What was the goal, beside obviously helping them in their self-confidence and then healing? What was the global picture, the mission that really drove you to want to start that?
Well, one, I think that, okay, everybody has a greater purpose in their life.
Okay.
And playing small, like as women in the world, we are taught to play small and playing small or to be humble. And the thing is, nobody needs to be humble. This is not a
Mm-mm.
thing that helps you, because that just keeps you from stepping into your power and whatever your purpose is, whatever you're supposed to create. And everyone is destined to create something amazing and something great. You're not going to do it by being humble and playing small. You're going to do that by stepping into your power and playing big. And
Yeah.
people often mix up arrogance and confidence, right? And it's always these people that are stuck in this low place and they don't want to become arrogant. But here is the thing with arrogance. Arrogance also comes from low self-worth. And when you're in a place of low self-worth,
Hmm.
you can't even show up and serve the world. One, because you're not in your power and you're not going to be able to share your gifts with the world. But two, you can't even offer your presence, because anyone who's been in a place where they are insecure, they will know you. If you walk into a party, as an example, it's hard to pay attention at the party when other people are talking to you, because instead of listening to the person in front of you, you are thinking about yourself. Do I look okay? Are my clothes okay? Am I fatter than everyone? Am I skinnier than everyone? Is my hair better? Is it worse? What's going on with my makeup? So this person's talking to you and you can't even be present because you're there focused on yourself, right? Like
Right.
low self-esteem is the thing that makes you more self-obsessed and self-focused. And when you're in your true confidence, you don't need to compare yourself, because you are so accepting and comfortable in yourself and in your body that when you show up in front of people, you're present and you're paying attention to that conversation, and you can offer that to people and you can show up in the world in a completely different way because you have that base level of comfort. You
Yeah.
don't have to sit there and obsess and focus. And that is a gift that you get to give to the world only when you are fully embracing your confidence.
Oh, that's a beautiful message. I actually never um, put in correlation the fact that arrogance was an actual lack of self-confidence. It's contradictory. It counters each other. You wouldn't expect somebody to be louder or more self-absorbed because they have insecurities. You would think that they're just so full of themselves because of the self-confidence they think they, I mean, they not they think that, but they actually have. So super big revelation here. I think that there are a lot of people are going to look at self-absorbed people differently now.
Yeah, and it's the thing is, okay, it doesn't mean that you don't shout or celebrate your successes when you're confident, but the thing is it's not in a place of comparison. So it means that
Yes.
you can shout out and celebrate other people's successes as well, because you're not you don't need
Right.
it's not a comparative thing. So if you're going to another person's birthday, you can show up and you can fully celebrate them. You don't have to talk about your birthday that day, or if you're at someone else's business launch, you can cheer really loudly for their business launch, because like it doesn't take away from yours, and you don't need the validation of telling everyone there about what's happening with you.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. It almost sounds like freedom, honestly, to
Yes.
me. It sounds
Yes.
like you're freeing your mind from that heavy weight that you never wanted, but you've been literally forced to carry on your back, on your shoulder. Um, how did you then develop that program of yours? How did you realize that certain steps and certain pillars were important and worked for everybody?
Through this journey, I went through a lot of things, and there are so many things out there that are really helpful. But a lot of the stuff that is put out there is put from a really superficial perspective, or is probably put out there from people that haven't experienced deep trauma, right? And like I'm someone who loves affirmations now, and I think that they're wonderful and I think that they're great. But when I was coming from that place of deep trauma and having no self-worth, something like that wasn't going to work for me, because standing in front of a mirror and saying I'm beautiful when I feel like I'm worthless would just get my mind chatter to yell at me even louder, right? And I would walk away and I would feel even worse and I would feel even worse, and it wasn't helpful, right? And so I realized there's a
Yeah.
certain place that everyone can start, because what I view as complete confidence and complete self-worth isn't looking at yourself in the mirror every day and thinking you're a goddess. There's going to be days that you think that, but what it is unconditional acceptance of yourself so that you can be in full alignment. And when you're in alignment, you're not fighting against yourself and you're at peace. So it's like, even if you wake up in the morning and you look crazy, you're not looking for the thing that, like, if you have a big pimple, you're not pointing out the big pimple. You're focused on what there, like the good things about you, right? So it's not about contradicting that, but it's about fully accepting that, right? And we are great, especially as women, at accepting that for other people, right? And unconditionally accepting other people, and it's
A
sort of
100%. Yes.
building that in for ourselves. And that was sort of the basis of my 4 pillars of confidence, because when I broke down, okay, what is part of the work that I did that really changed my life, that also removed resistance, because there's things you can add in and there's things you can do as you go through this journey, and it's going to be a journey. There's always more things you can do, more things you can add on in your life, but in the very beginning you need the things that remove resistance.
If I can share a personal story on what you said, because it actually just reminded me of something. When I was in my early 20s, I just, decided to travel on my own for 18 months. And it was an introspection kind of trip. So I needed to kind of ground myself and just reprogram my brain on everything I had learned that didn't serve me. And one of the things that I learned is that I indeed was always feeling like I wanted to shout at myself, or I didn't feel like I was actually, I wasn't, I don't know, I was just not in happy about me. I was like, my decision making process, the way I looked, the way I interacted, everything was always wrong for some reason. And during my trip abroad, what happened is that I had only me, I didn't know anybody. So I had to keep myself company. And I realized that when I befriended myself, I actually found myself beautiful, nice, funny, things that I had never said about myself before. And I realized indeed that self love really comes from, love really comes from within first, because then you can give your best to others. And it really reminded me of that. It's an incredible transformation. You did also something very special. You went on how 1,000 first dates
Yeah.
with yourself. Is that what you did? Yes. Do you want to tell us more about that?
So there was a point in dating that people, okay, go out there and like can be so rigid and they don't have fun with dating. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this experiment and I'm just going to say yes to everyone that asks me out, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to meet people. And what I realized is like that's what it's supposed to be, and you can take something away from every interaction, and when you don't make it so serious and when you don't make it so heavy, but you start to really enjoy the experience, and then you can open up and really connect with whoever you're supposed to connect to, right? Because and there's nothing wrong with having standards, there's nothing wrong with having filters. I mean, I did this let's just say I did it for the plot. And as a coach it was really helpful. But a lot of times people, they really don't enjoy the process of dating, and they don't enjoy the process of meeting other people, because
Yes.
they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder, right? And then they're showing up on the first date. Okay, do you want to get married? Tell me all your values. Tell
Oh,
me this. Tell me that. It's this interview. It's so serious. And the thing is, it's because they're trying to expedite the process, because they're trying to know everything. I don't want to get hurt, so I want to know everything about you from day one. And it doesn't matter, because the thing is, that person can make up anything, they can say anything. So you showing up with that attitude and showing up in that way, it isn't going to help you connect with the right person. It isn't going to save you from heartbreak. But what it could do is repel people who you have the ability to connect with, right? Because you're showing up in such a defensive way as opposed to an open way. And it doesn't mean that you can't ask questions like that. But you have to allow things to flow. And when you're in this rush, it's because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to do this. You're missing the entire process of getting to know someone. And of course, dating isn't going to be fun. Of course, you're not going to enjoy the process. And of course, you're going to be extremely, extremely repelling to people. And when you just open up, what I realized through that process is I met so many people that they had a great story. And like, I got to learn something about them. I got to learn their story. I got to have this moment of human connection. And there was something to be gained from all of those that was powerful. And I just realized, oh, okay, like you can, like, if people start approaching dating this way, if they start showing up this way in this relaxed way, one, they're going to have a lot more fun. But you also, what your soul craves, what your soul is here for is for experiences. And if you open yourself up to experiences, you also open yourself up to like actually receive what is meant for you.
Yes. So would you recommend that? Taking yourself on 1,000 dates first, practicing?
Well, the thing is, if someone is struggling, then it doesn't have to be 1,000 dates, but it's just like take the pressure off, right? Instead of, because
Yes.
so many people, they'll get themselves into a tizzy because they'll say, and there's nothing wrong with putting out the intention to say, okay, I'm going to meet my husband this year, or I'm going to, but when you start approaching from too much tension, you're not, because it's just going to be so repelling, right? So instead, you can still have the intention of, I want to meet my husband this year, but my goal is, okay, in the next 60 days I want to go on 20 dates,
Okay.
right? And like you put that out there, and it opens you up to consider people that you wouldn't consider. And it might shift, because sometimes you meet people and you're like, oh, like I wasn't open to this, but like actually maybe now I am, because now I have a different perspective. And if I'm not so rigid, then this is shifting what I'm attracted to. Because also, when you're coming from a place of, if you haven't had healthy relationships in your past, or you haven't had healthy relationships modeled for you, what you are going to naturally be attracted to is unhealthy. Because
Mm,
what your nervous system is attracted to is what feels familiar to your nervous system.
right.
So if your parents had a really toxic relationship and that's what you grew up with, your nervous system is wired for that. So you're going to be attracted to that. And so you might not naturally be attracted to someone that's calm and peaceful, but that might be exactly what you need, right? If you open yourself up to sort of date more people and put yourself out there, then you can start to acclimatize your nervous system to different things that way as well.
Now, speaking about that, how much self confidence and confidence in general actually is related to attraction?
In terms of how attractive you are, your magnetism, because if you are not showing up comfortable with yourself,
Hmm.
it is very hard for other people to be comfortable around you, because it's going to project outwards, right? And people mirror us all the time. Some people, their personality, they can be a bit awkward, but they're living in their authenticity. It doesn't mean that they dislike their awkwardness, but things that become a problem, like when you are sitting there and you're thinking that this thing is terrible about you, you're sending out this signal as well, this energetic
Right.
signal for someone to pay attention to that and to think of it as a negative thing, right? And that's what you're going to be attracting. That's what people are going to be honing in on, right? And if you're sitting there thinking something positive or even something neutral, right, then you open yourself up to attract something different. The other aspect of this is, so our ego mind, it always wants to be validated and it wants to be correct, right? So
Hmm.
you can have low self-worth, and I know that when I did, I still wanted someone to show up and love me and see me and appreciate me. But the thing is, when someone showed up in the kindest, most loving way, when I was in that place that was so low, I started to think there was something wrong with them, because it was going against what I knew in my ego mind, is that I was worthless. So if this person was
Yes.
seeing me as special, it's either they were being fake and disingenuous, or they were crazy or dumb because like they couldn't see the truth. And so it would change. I wouldn't be attracted to them. I would start to see something wrong with them. So even when there were healthy relationships, potentials in front of me, I was rejecting them. I was pushing them away because what's wrong with this person? They see good things in me. Like, I know that there's nothing good in me. So how could they see something good in me? Right. And it's not something you consciously do, but this is sort of subconsciously what takes over.
So, would you recommend to someone to do the work first of feeling confident and having self love for themselves before to throw themselves into starting dating and trying to find their forever partner?
Yes, but it doesn't have to be like it doesn't, when people get worried about this because they think, oh my gosh, how much time am I going to have to take away from this? It doesn't have to be that long, right? But it has to be because it's actually your fear of focusing on yourself. Like, even if you take 60 days and you fully pour into yourself and you focus on yourself and you really do that, you can go out and start dating again. And it doesn't mean that that every wound you have is going to be healed in that 60 days,
Right,
but you're going to
right,
have at least like a base level, and then you can, and then because also we don't heal in isolation, right? So this is something important to remember.
right.
So because it's easy to go sit on a mountaintop and meditate and say, oh, I've reached, I've reached peace, and I understand everything, but there's no one there. There's nothing in life there triggering you. You don't know if you've reached peace until you encounter a difficult situation. And can you maintain your peace in that situation? When someone says something to you that is unkind, how can you hold that? How can you react to that? Or even that's not unkind, that maybe just rubs you the wrong way. How can you hold your feelings? So part of healing is also getting triggered, going through situations so you can figure out what's bothering you, because it's your chance to uncover it. If you start to think of it that way, that you're not being punished, but it's your chance to uncover these beliefs and things that you're holding and learn ways and tools to hold them differently, then that is when you can really start healing in a deeper level. Because really being healed is being able to show up in a world that's messy, that's uncomfortable, and still be able to come to a baseline of feeling good. It doesn't mean that things aren't going to hurt you and that, you're not going to be affected by things that are happening, but can you still bring yourself back to that baseline of peace?
Navi, you're preaching right now. You're absolutely preaching for everybody out there. We tend to have an armor around us and not want to be hurt because we don't like the feeling. But when when you said right now, you need to get hurt, you need to get out there to learn to heal. It gives it another perspective, another dimension. It makes it more bearable, if I can say it like that. Makes it like it's even worth it because you're gonna grow from it, and you might even benefit from that mistake or that pain or that sorrow. So that's a whole other perspective. I love your approach.
Thank
Sincerely, it's I never heard that before. It makes a lot of sense. Seriously. You also mentioned that people, once they start loving themselves and stepping into their power, there is a lot of magnetic energy around them. Is it something permanent, by the way? When you have this magnetic energy, is it in love, at work, everywhere, in everything you do? Or are
Yes,
we
yes.
talking about love only? Okay,
No, it's
okay.
it's everything. It's everything, because it just it you radiate out, right? Because you attract what you are. So like, if you want to attract love, then you become love. If you want it, but all of these things are sort of, it's not, you don't feel love in isolation, right? It's also going to be joy, it's also going to be happiness, it's also abundance, right?
Yes,
Because, and you feel all of these things, and they all the good emotions sort of mix together, just like all the bad ones do as well, right? Like, you're gonna,
yeah,
like, like, if you're feeling unlovable, you're also feeling lack, because you're going to think there's lack of partner, but that's also going to affect how money comes to you. It's going to affect how other opportunities come to you. It's all of
right.
these things get mixed up together. And when, same thing when with all the positive things. So you will start to attract and open up basically for receiving at that point, and everything that's in alignment with you.
It makes a lot of sense. And even more reason to show up for yourself. I wanted to ask you also a question. Do you see, when you've worked and helped many women, do you see a common pattern in the woman you've helped that is maybe self-sabotaging them in their pursuit of happiness and self-love? Or is it an issue that you think comes from society, from childhood? Do you see a common pattern, or is it really, it depends?
I mean, it depends. I mean, the common
Okay.
pattern I think is the lack of self-worth and that person believing that there's something wrong with them, right?
Okay.
That like they're okay, everyone is unique and incredible, but most people think they're unique because of their flaws and because of everything that's wrong with them and because of everything that they've gone through, right? And that's why I share my story because there are people that will find pieces of that and realize, "Oh, I'm not unique in my suffering. Like you're unique, but you're not unique in your suffering. That is something that people experience across the board, and or their pain or hurt or heartbreak. And it's people feeling like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm the only one, you know. And this person who had it, they always had it, right? And yeah, there's always a handful of people in life that is true for because they just came and their life was meant to be different, right? Where
That's right.
it's just easy and from the beginning, but for the majority of people it isn't like that.
It's funny that you say that because I'm thinking to myself, a lot of one of the reason why I love social media, and I know it's controversial because there is obviously pros and cons and everything, but one of the reason why I personally love it, knowing that I did not grow up with social media, but I benefited from it down the road, is because you were able to, everybody's able to share their story, and now you realize that you're not alone. I felt that with the mainstream of media, you everybody watched TV back then, you know, listen to the same maybe even podcasts or, you know, radio stations, and there was really only the version that sold. And now we get every possible colors of the rainbow, and everybody gets to not feel as alone anymore. So I love the fact that you're bringing that, and then it's even more a message for people who feel like they're stuck in their situation to go seek help, because they might, now they know they're not alone.
Yeah, so people's problems are the same but they feel unique in them, right? So like because the same, I'll tell you, I've seen the same insecurity in someone who might be a size zero model, and then as somebody who's extremely plus size, as somebody who's like barely scraping by financially, as someone who's a multimillionaire. I've seen the same confidence struggle. And sometimes, you know, you think, okay, well, if I just change this, that's going to change how I feel. And that isn't true. Like you can have all of that and it's
Yeah.
still not going to change how you feel. But if you change how you feel, it doesn't mean that you still can't also change outside circumstances if you desire to change outside circumstances. But the place that you're going to be changing those circumstances from is going to be completely different.
And is there some myth or misconceptions about that prevent women from embracing self-love?
Well, one, I think there's a big thing in society and media that just, like I said, it pushes women to play small, to play humble, and it's just this is what's going to make you a good woman. And you know, if you focus on yourself, it's going to make you less caring. But the thing is, when your cup is empty, you have nothing to give to anyone, and when you're overflowing, that is when you
So
have the
true.
most to pour into someone, right? And even when you're because when you're pouring from an empty cup, what happens is this also ruins so many relationships because it creates resentment, right? Because when
Yes,
you
yes.
have nothing and your cup is empty and you're pouring into someone and you're doing for someone, it is going to make you resentful because you're going to expect that person, I need you to pour back into me because I drained my last little bit for you. And it's like, I need you to pour back into me. And when they don't, you're going to be bitter and you're going to be resentful and you're not giving from a place of joy. You're giving from a place of doing something to get something. So in fact, it becomes more like a manipulation, right? And when your cup is overflowing and you are able to fill yourself up and focus on yourself and you're giving only from the overflow, you don't need anything back. Doesn't mean you won't receive, but
Yeah.
you don't need it back. So you're able to show up with this freedom in relationships. And when you have community, and this is sort of like a large community around us of people, this is how it works. There's times that it's if you're always pouring from your overflow, there's going to be times that you're going to pour into someone and they need your support at that moment, because they're running on empty. They don't have anything to pour back into you, but there's someone else that's running an overflow, and they're going to pour into you. And then, it becomes this cycle of people being able to pour into each other, and then eventually, enough people pour into that person who's empty as well. They're able to lift themselves up, and they're able to start pouring back into other people. But you're able to give them that space and that time to be able to do that, so that you're not creating this resentment and just walking around with that, carrying that
Yeah.
around with you, because, oh, I did this and this person didn't do it back, and I have to keep track of all of this, because you don't, with all of the things you need to worry about in your life, these are not the things that you need to worry about and keep track of.
Your message and your mission speaks to a certain pool of women. And I would like to ask you, who are these women? So in comparison with the women who come to you.
I would say, for the type of women that I speak to, is just for whoever resonates with what I'm saying, right? And the thing that I always tell people is, there's more than one path to get to a destination. So if you're sitting there and you're just humming and hawing, and you're not moving forward, and you're not choosing any path to go down, it's actually because that becomes your way of, like, beating up on yourself as well, right? Because you don't think that any path is going to be successful, right? But there's more than one path to get to a destination, and you're going to get there. So imagine you're climbing up a mountain, and there's 6 different trails, right? And all of them will get you to the summit, but they all go a different way, and you just have to, whichever guide is going to resonate with you is the person that you have to follow, the one that you're willing to follow through with. Where people get stuck is if they try to, they say, okay, I'm going to follow all 6 guides, and all that does is lead you, because you're going from one trail to the next, and you just keep circling the perimeter of the mountain, and you can't move up because you're not willing to take one path that way. And you just have to have this trust in yourself to whatever resonates with you, whoever resonates with you. And there isn't a wrong way, right? There isn't a wrong way. If someone else resonates with you, then they resonate with you. And it's just whatever touches you, whatever you connect with, that is the person that is meant to lead you. And that doesn't mean that they need to be the person that leads you forever. They can lead you maybe for one step or a few steps in your journey, and then maybe you're going to connect with somebody else or something else, and that's all okay.
So when can we call Navi? Is it when we feel that we lack of self-love? Is it when we feel that we are getting in or out of a relationship? Is it when we just want to step into our feminine energy?
So it's a little bit of everything. So I have women that
Okay.
come to me. So if I have women that come to me that are struggling with their relationship. So maybe they're in a relationship already, and they want to
Oh, okay.
improve the relationship that they're in, or they're dating, and they're looking to meet somebody, and or just that they simply just want to work on their self-worth for themselves, so that they can step into their power, so they can start like attracting more opportunities and more things for them, and get clear on what they want. When you know yourself, that's only when you can really have the clarity on what it is that you want. And sort of, I work with different women in sort of different stages of their journey.
It's I was asking the question because I really wanted the audience to understand how much you could help them with every possible aspect of being a woman and learning to love yourself. I scrolled through your website and it was so inspiring. I could see the power. There is an energy and an aura around what you do. I wouldn't want anybody that needs it to miss it, honestly. I wanted to ask you a personal question. What is the hardest thing you had to face in your personal journey that happens to women you help?
So I think the hardest part is the first step, to be perfectly honest with you.
Oh yeah,
So
makes sense.
to move in some sort of way, right? And so I guess, like, leaving my abusive relationship, and then deciding to choose myself. But I guess it started with that. People think that when your self-worth is really low, and you think that you're completely disconnected and you have nothing, but we all have something inside of us. We all have something inside of us. I don't, it doesn't matter how low it is, you have something inside of you. And the reason that I know that you have something inside of you is because I know everyone has experienced this. I don't care if your self-esteem was in the absolute dumpster. Something happened to you at some point, in some moment, and there was a voice inside of you that said, that's not okay. That's not how it's supposed to be. Even if it was a tiny whisper, that is a part of you that actually knew already that you deserve more, that you're worth more, that is already tapped into that part has always been there. It's always been there. And it whispers and it whispers and it whispers. And it did for me until it started screaming at me and I had to listen to it. And I didn't understand what it was at that point, but I just knew, okay, this is it. I gave into it, which is what allowed me to leave that relationship. And then giving into it, I said, okay, and when as you start to give into it, you start to listen to it, it grows louder. That's also the part of me that told me, like, you need to choose yourself, you need to figure this out, you need to take a step back, you need to start pouring into you. And I listened to it, and that was the hardest part, actually, surrendering to that voice, because that's the
Yeah.
voice that started me on my journey.
It's a beautiful message. I'm glad I asked, honestly, uh, because I know it resonates with a lot of women out there. Not listening to your gut feelings, because there is sometimes imaginary consequences or losses. And the truth is that losing yourself is way greater than anything that you can leave behind to this when you decide to thrive. There is nothing holding you back. If you lose yourself, then you've lost it all at the end of the day. So why not make the decision to actually heal and be happy? Yeah,
Yeah,
love
exactly.
that.
And the thing is, like I said, there is a part of you that inside of you that already knows that, even if it's the
Right,
tiniest,
right,
faintest
right.
whisper, it already knows that. So it's not like you might think that you're building from nothing, but you're not. You're just actually feeding into that part and nurturing it and letting it bloom and grow.
So my next question would be, women really fall into the same unhealthy relationship over and over again, right? Even though sometimes they have that gut feeling. What should they fix once they realize this is not okay? Once they realize, okay, it might not be the people I pick, it might come from me. What is the change they should make?
One is the understanding, like I said this earlier, right? Your nervous system is attracted to what is familiar, because so this goes back to, like, our brain fundamentally hasn't changed very much from caveman times, right? And so your brain is wired to help you survive and not to thrive. Okay, so
Yes.
so let's just say during that time you had to walk down a path to get food, and during down one path there was one small bear, and you had to outrun the bear every time, but you knew that you could because you did before, right? And then there's two other paths that you haven't been down, but you don't know what's on those. There could be like huge bears, there could be other predators, there could be no food, it could be nothing, right? So your brain wants to keep you alive, and it knows that if you go down that path that you've already been down, you can stay alive. So it wants to keep pulling you down that same path. So you have to
Wow.
be aware of this, and it's that your brain is pulling you towards this. You're being attracted to this because it's like, oh, okay, I'm meeting someone who's loud, pushy, love bomby, the exact way that my ex is, and I'm so insanely attracted to this person. And it's, yeah, you're attracted to them because that feels safe to you, even though you got into a relationship with that person and you realized that it wasn't safe, right? But you knew that you could survive it because you did. So your brain is leading you down this path of survival. So part of changing that is getting uncomfortable and being willing to do things, right? And being willing to, like, put yourself out there. And put yourself out there means maybe going on a date with somebody that you don't find attractive, maybe that you find that person to be completely boring. And that doesn't mean that you have to marry that person or end up in a relationship with that person, but you start wiring your nervous system for different things. And what you may realize over time is it feels uncomfortable, but it actually, it's just because I haven't experienced it before. And as I relax, as I keep pouring into myself, as I explore that, actually, I start to be attracted to this.
Yes. And it happens in many different things. How many times did we try new food, a new place, a new anything that we were maybe had some misconceptions about, and then we did it, or life forced us to find ourselves doing it, and then we kind of liked it. It wasn't that bad, and then eventually it becomes even something that we do often. That's a good way to challenge our brains. I think sometimes we don't understand it's coming from instinctual reactions. I think we get confused with the gut feeling, though. You know what I'm thinking about now? I'm really thinking about that. Sometimes we have instinctual reactions, but we don't know if this is a gut feeling. And it might be also a gut feeling, actually, and if we should listen to it or not. And then we become a little more fearful about what we are about to do. And I think that this is where our intelligence as humans needs to kick in and say, wait, I need to also challenge my gut feeling and try to analyze if now it's actually an instinctual reaction, or if this is something I should try. It's not an actual gut feeling. So that's a good way to put it. I see how we can all react the wrong way because of what you just mentioned, the survival instinct. So it's I want to ask you also, what is the biggest block? What do you see as the biggest block holding women back from the love they want?
It's going to be slight variation for everyone, right? But I really do think it starts with a lack of belief that you can have it, and either you believe that you can't have it because you personally are not worthy of it, or because it doesn't exist. That's also a problem, right? Because
Mm,
you can want a loving, beautiful, kind, thoughtful, generous man, but if you think all men are pieces of garbage that use women and are just horrible people, you are also now tuned away from that, right? And so how are you going to find that, right? It's like saying that I want to I want a unicorn. I want I want to like a I want a pink fluffy unicorn that
yeah.
like comes to life, and in like, but it's like it doesn't even exist, right? So like what you do when you're in that place is you tune yourself out of the possibility of it, right? Because like it won't even hit your radar because you're like, it doesn't exist, right? And the way that our brain works, right, the way that our reticular activating system works, at any given moment there's so many things that are happening. We cannot tune into every single thing because we also have other thoughts that are going on in the background with so many things. We can only tune into so many things at a particular time, and when you are honed into men are garbage, you are only going to find garbage men because your brain is tuned into that. Just like if I tell you, okay,
Right.
like there's so many red cars in the world, there's red cars everywhere, almost everyone drives a red car. If you have this thought circulating in your brain, you're going to go out and today you're going to see red cars everywhere because now your brain is honed in on that and you're
Yes.
focused on that, right? Where this is changing the focus. And if you start saying, oh, there's really wonderful, kind, loving men everywhere, you're going to start to notice that. You're going to start to pay attention to that, right? And you're going to start to have more of that in the world, right? This is why when like a crime happens, the eyewitness testimony is the least reliable. And it's not because people are lying. It's because people can only see what they can see from their perspective and what they're tuned into. So there might be 50 things, like if an accident happens at an intersection, you were to interview all of the eyewitnesses, they can only see that part of the accident that they were tuned into or whatever they were looking at. Maybe someone wasn't looking at all, maybe they were paying attention to this, someone else is paying attention to that. So what they're all going to see is something different, and they're not lying. It's just
Their
they're unable to
perspective is,
provide,
yeah,
yeah, the whole
is through their
picture.
own lens.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a conversation that I had literally this weekend with a friend of mine. And how do you explain the difference between settling in a relationship and choosing with clarity?
So I think settling is with the mindset of like, this is it, like this is the best I can get, like this isn't really what I want, but it's just the best that I can get, right? And choosing with clarity is, I really love the things about this person when I'm choosing this person, because when I think of building a life and I think of creating partnership, and this is somebody I want to build with. This is somebody I want to grow with, right? And it doesn't mean that like no human is perfect, but it's are you aligned in your values? Are you aligned in the bigger picture? Because and settling is, I'm going to compromise. And also beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? And so like you deserve to be with somebody that you're attracted to, right? But like it doesn't mean that like that person needs to be like 6 feet tall, or they need to like have a particular physique, or they have to be a certain way. But you deserve to be with somebody that you look at and you feel good, you feel attracted to, right? And settling is, I'm not attracted to this person, but I don't think I can get anyone else, or like I don't like anything about them, but they make good money, so whatever, I'm just going to settle for that. That's settling. And actively choosing is being able to look at someone and saying, I really accept this person, because that's like I said, that's how I see love, is acceptance for yourself and for another person.
Do you think that people settle because of limiting beliefs?
Yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
right? Because if you don't think like one, if you think your time is running out, if you think that it's gonna
Which comes back very often nowadays with
It
women.
does. It does.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you really, then you're going to be like, okay, well, I just have to settle because I'm running out of time. But you're going into scarcity, and then yeah, you're not going to be making a clear choice. And the thing is, time is never running out. And at the end of the day, it's never too late to find love. Like one of my favorite clients, she found her soulmate in her late 50s. And so she came to me, and she was already in a relationship, and she wanted to work on that relationship. And when she told me about the relationship, I realized that it was a very toxic relationship.
Okay.
And I said that I would love to work with her, but I wasn't going to work with her on that relationship because I didn't think it was a relationship that she should be in. And, she needed to decide what she wanted to do. And so she was very angry, and she left that call, but then she met with a bunch of other people, and then she came back and decided to work with me because she realized that I was the only person that was willing to tell her the truth.
That was the wake up call she needed.
Yes. And so she did end up walking away from that relationship, and we started working together. She spent a few months working on herself, and then she met someone, and then which because she had worked on herself, the type of man that she now had brought into her life was a complete 180 from all of the people that she had ever been with previously. And then 1 year to the day that they met, he took her to the same restaurant, and then he proposed to her with this beautiful ring. And when he gave her the ring, he pulled out a card that was like, it was like really old and tattered and torn. And she looked at it, and she was confused, right? This beautiful ring, and then this card, and then she asked him about it, and he said, okay, he's like, this card, he's like, I was in my early 20s, and I was at the mall, and I was buying a card for something else, and it was a card written to from a man to his wife. And I read this card, and I thought, wow, these are all the qualities that I want in my future wife. And he bought it, and he held on to it, and he would look at it, he would read it, he'd think about it all the time, and he never found anyone that exhibited all of those qualities until he met her. And so when he proposed to her, he gave her that card.
I love that story. It's a beautiful story. Oh my word. It really says a lot about attracting the right people. What a sweetheart he is. She really did well by walking away from this relationship. She needed that wake up call, but someone else was waiting for her. And I'm glad she was able to work on herself enough to put herself in front of that the right person, the person that was meant for her. That is such a beautiful story. Oh my gosh, you must have felt like every type of possible way when she told you about it.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It still touches my heart. And the thing
Yeah.
is, they've been married for years now, and they're so happy, and I could not be happier for her, because that is the relationship that she deserved all along. She just
Yes.
had to believe that she deserved it herself in order to attract it in.
Oh my gosh, you're such an amazing coach. Oh, that's a beautiful story. You also have been featured on Global News, City TV, Breakfast Television, A Plus Media, and like I said earlier, Chicken Soup for the Soul. I wanted to ask you what visibility means for you and your mission.
So it just means that I get to touch and connect with more people. And this is, like I said, I really believe in the importance of being able to share my story, because I don't believe that it's the things that we go through when we're suffering that make us feel so that create we can I think the human spirit is resilient enough. We can go through so much, and that isn't the thing that causes the worst pain. The thing that causes the worst pain is believing like we're the only one, that we're so
Yes.
isolated in our suffering. And I know that I would read self-help, and I would watch self-help videos and all of this stuff like that, and listen to other people sharing their story when I was in the throes of my pain, because I could see myself in that. And it was a thing that gave me hope, and it gave me the ability to be seen without having to put myself out there when I wasn't ready to put myself out there. And I know that sharing my story does the same thing. And also for people to know, like, this is why everybody should be putting their story out there. Everybody should be, because we're all different. And the thing is, there's someone that's going to resonate with you, that's going to connect with you in some sort of way, that needs to see you because they're waiting for someone like you, exactly like you, because they're not there are other people that are putting themselves out there, but they're not seeing themselves in that person.
That is so very true. And tell us more, because we are getting at the end of the podcast, and I feel that we haven't even spoken enough. But tell us more about your program. I know you have a few actually.
Yeah, I have I do different programs at different times. So I do one-on-one coaching, and that's typically 5 months, and then I have uh, my new program that just started, which is Fall Back in Love with Yourself. I have another program called Sexy Confidence, and I have another one called The One, which is about embodying the identity of being the woman who is the one.
I like sexy confidence. It's a good name. What do you do in that program, for example?
So there's a core basis of confidence that we do in all of in all the in all of my programs, and then sort of the each one is broken up a little bit differently. In Sexy Confidence, this is really about tapping into that really bold identity that's going to like not just put you in a great place for dating, or if you're in a relationship, bring back that spark in that relationship, but also in business, in the world, be to help you become that person where you like step out there and you own yourself, and you own your sexuality, you own your confidence, and you're able to show up as the boldest, brightest version of yourself.
That sounds wonderful, especially because you mentioned earlier that it's not narcissistic to actually show up confident. It's not arrogance. On the contrary, it's because you're thriving. So I think a lot of women would, this is why actually I picked on it. I was like, wait a minute, sexy and confident. This is what a lot of women need. Feel sexy and confident again. That's like, oh, a great, that's really great. I wanted to ask you, if now a woman feels broken, lost, unworthy of love, what is the very first step she can take right now?
So, one, the very, very first step is listening to that little voice, right? That little voice that's inside of you that's telling you something is wrong. And all you have to do is start feeding that voice. Just give if you don't know what to do, just give it a little bit of space. Just give it a little bit of space and let it guide you, right? Because it's there, it's inside of you. Nurture it. Don't stomp it out. Don't when it rises up, don't try to push it away, right? Because right now you're feeding all of the nasty voices that are in there, right? And just create some space, start nurturing that, and it will be the thing that starts to guide you forward.
Trusting your guts, that's very important. And I wanted to ask you a question, Navi. If you could speak to yourself back in the days, right? If you could say one thing, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself to keep going, and it's going to be okay. And when you're on the other side of it, it's going to be worth it, because when you I wouldn't want to go back and go through any of the things that I've gone through again. 100% wouldn't wish them on another person either. But right now, I'm at a place where I feel so good and I'm so happy that it I can say that it was worth it. Right. And so it doesn't matter. I don't hold this resentment. I don't hold this anger, because I had to go there to get here. that for me, everyone's journey is different. Like I said, it's not something I would wish upon anyone. I don't wish pain or suffering or abuse or anything on everyone. But if you keep going and you get through and you get to the other side of it, it'll get to a point when if you're happy now, it's not going to matter what happened before, because we live in the now.
Tell us about all the ways we can reach out to you. I'll add them in the description, but just so for people who are listening.
So across all social media, my handle is just at Navi Bliss, NaviBliss. And my website is naviblisscoaching.com.
Wonderful. Again, I will add it all in the description. I think you have a podcast as well. Can we find it on your website?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us also about, before I let you go, by the way, I want to really dig into your two books. I forgot to ask about that question, but I don't want to let you go before we speak about it. Can you remind us the titles, the names? Yeah, sorry, the titles of your two books, and also what it is about, and where can we
Yeah.
find them?
So the ones that are published already, so they're both compilation books. So one is Healing and Growth, and it's stories of healing and growth. They're both on Amazon, and the other one is called Our Yellow Brick Road. And Our Yellow Brick Road is a little bit more personal journey that I co-authored with a number of other inspirational speakers, and it's some of our I guess most popular speeches that we did, and we sort of combined those into a book. And I also have a new book that will be coming out next year, my first solo book, which is called Broken to Blissful.
It sounds great. I can't wait for the book to be available online. Can we find them on Amazon?
Yeah, so the books that are already published, they're on Amazon. And then, yeah, you'll just have to follow me to find out all the details of my new book.
Exactly. Don't forget to follow her, please, and support her and reach out to her. It was amazing having you, Navi, here today. I told you before we started recording this podcast that you are special for me because I think that you're really tackling important conversations, and situations that people are going through every day. And sometimes we go clueless, and it seems that it's just there is no way out, and you bring a lot of your personal story in it, which makes a world of a difference, because it's really heartfelt, and I know it's a vocation for you, and I want to thank you a gazillion time again for sitting and sharing your wisdom and being so open. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.